that even the trait of selfishness, which is, as the Baal Shem Tov says, the source of evil, also has a side of blessing in it. Anokhi Kedusha, the ego of holiness.
אלוהי, נשמה שנתת בי, טהורה.
Morning, Rebelli. Good morning to all our followers on out in cyberspace in the Cyber Yeshiva, and we're Parashat Re'eh. For those of you who have the book and will be following along with us in the Netivot Shalom, the volume of Devarim, of Deuteronomy. We are on page Fei, and it's section Ot Hey, so it's section Hey. Starts, that's the third paragraph down on page Fei from the top of the first column. And this is a commentary. It's referring to Re'eh Anokhi noten lifnechem hayom bracha v'klala. It's the beginning of the parsha, and the verse here says, "See, I give to you today the blessing and the curse." And there you have it. Very, very direct. You can say it's a very blunt. Direct statement here. Moshe Rabbeinu is offering here to us in the name of God. So the Slomer, we're going to jump right in, and the Slomer says the following. וכמו כן, בכל העניינים שהקדוש ברוך הוא נותן לאדם, כל המידות, תכונות הנפש והטבעיות, הן הטובים והן הרעים. Let me translate that. And thus, in all matters that the Holy One, blessed be, gives to us, to human beings, all the midot, all the traits of one's personality, and all of, natural gifts, whether good ones or bad ones. B'chulam yesh bracha v'yesh klala. In all of those, there is a blessing and there is a curse. Shekol davar yachol hu lehagbia lemadriga ha'ilait. To suggest that everything can be raised to its highest level, to the highest level of blessing, and that's hinted in the verse, Asher tishmeu el mitzvot Adonai Elokechem. That which you will follow, or when you will follow the mitzvot of Havaya, your God. V'chen lehefech chas v'chalila. And so it is vice versa, God forbid. A person can yachol lashpilo ladarga hayeruda biyoter. One can bring something down to its lowest level, shel haklala, the level of curse. And that's represented in the verse, Im lo tishmeu el mitzvot Adonai Elokechem. When you do not follow the mitzvot of Adonai your God. Lays it out very simply. One can raise things up to the level of the highest level of blessing, when you take the right actions, obviously, and one can bring things down to the lowest level of curse when you take the wrong actions. So it's very, very simple. It's not, it's kind of like, it's not ambiguous, right? But obviously, let's continue. Things get interesting from here, right? ואפילו התאוות החזקות ביותר שיש לאדם, כאשר פחז עליו יצרו, and even the strongest desires or lusts that people have when their impulse takes hold of them, הרי אם אין הוא מקיים אשר תשמעו אל מצוות אדוני אלוקיכם, then thus when that person is fulfills the Torah's calling to follow the mitzvot of God, then a person can rise from this to the highest place. So in other words, what he's telling us is that a person, even if a person is caught up in the worst state of mind or state of being, or kind of been fallen off the path, even from there one can rise. So it doesn't mean, right? It doesn't mean that if you're caught up in whatever challenges or poor choices, doesn't mean you can't change that. That is the whole idea of teshuvah anyway, right? It's very foundational. ואם לאו חס וחלילה, הרי זה הכללה. But if not, if a person doesn't rise from that place, then you find yourself in the place of curse, which is represented with if you do not follow the mitzvot, etc. So he's again this very simple dichotomy, right? You follow, you don't follow. It's kind of the recipe of how to choose, right, between blessing and curse.
First, the Slonimer here is talking about it on a simple psychological level, that really we're creating our own sort of a curse. We're cursed upon we're allowing a space for curse to come upon us, for evil to come upon ourselves internally. And probably the next level, the deeper level, is Al Pi Chasidus, where it will most likely be explained that really even there there is no evil ultimately from its source. It's only as it gets brought down through the chain of creation, and we bring all these blessings into the mud with us. Right. But here we're dealing with this Re'eh, this freedom of choice that you touched upon here. Re'eh, Anokhi, noisin lifneihem. I'm giving it over. You get to choose.
Right. So this clearly lays out the choice, and but knowing, having read a few things from the Slonimer before, we know that when he lays something like very simple and black and white, he's just he's just laying it out so he can knock it down. So
setting the table.
Yeah, he's just setting the table so we can actually go somewhere that's more, that's more deeper than that. But just to say, right now where we're at is what Slonimer laid out for us is what you said is that there is a choice, right? It's our choice. But where he's going to go next, I think, where it gets interesting, is he's going to talk about where does the failure come from? Why would people choose? If it was that simple, how come I'm not always choosing the blessing? במיוחד שייך עניין זה במידת האנוכיות. So this is whole matter is specifically relevant when we come to the trait of selfishness, האנוכיות, or ego. שהאנוכיות היא מקור הרע. But anyway, what he's saying here is that the ego or selfishness are the source of evil. השורש פורה ראש ולענה לכל המידות הרעות. It is the root of the toxic plant, you could say. This is an idiom. לכל המידות הרעות, to all the negative traits. So there it is. It's the ego, man. It's all those failures come right from my ego, right? My selfishness, my inflated sense of myself, right? Is what he says. What's interesting, though, for me right now, I've been lately studying the Bala Sulam. Bala Sulam talks a lot about that, about the ego and the sense of wanting for oneself, and how that is, that's where most of us fail. Where we get stuck in that, in that one gear, with that one mode of me, I need, I want, it's all for myself. So one needs to be receiving in order to pass it on, right? And that's what the ego does. The ego kind of gets everything stuck in, I want to hoard it, whatever it is, it's spiritual or material, doesn't matter. Okay, that was a little digression, but so he keeps going here. וכמאמר הבעל שם טוב הקדוש, and as the Baal Shem Tov, the Holy Baal Shem Tov said, על הפסוק אנוכי עומד בין אדוני וביניכם. And this is, I think we taught about this just a few weeks ago. I believe it was in the Parashat Devarim, where Moses recounts how God spoke to the people of Israel, and the people of Israel were afraid, and they didn't want to hear directly from God. So Moses became Anokhi omed bein Adonai v'nechem, and I stood between you and God. In other words, I was the intermediary because it was too intense for you. But the Baal Shem Tov completely reinterprets that to mean something else. So when it says Anokhi omed bein Adonai v'nechem, which literally means me, Moses, I'm standing between you and God, Baal Shem Tov says no. שהאנוכיות עומדת כמחיצה המפסקת בין ישראל לאביהם בשמיים. It's the me-ness, it's not me, Moses, but the me-ness, the ego, Anokhi, the ego is what stands between you and between God. Right? It's a complete, deeper psychological interpretation of that verse. So basically, he's using the Baal Shem Tov here as a reference. So yeah, it is the Anokhi, the selfhood, the ego that stands between, as a partition between me, us, and our Father in heaven. אך אפילו מידת האנוכיות שהיא שורש הרע, יש בה גם צד ברכה. This is where it gets interesting. It says a Slonomer that even the trait of selfishness, which is, as the Baal Shem Tov says, the source of evil, also has a side of blessing in it. Anochiyut Kedusha, the ego of holiness. It's very interesting.
Right. Rabbi Nachman talks about these things when we like chutzpah de kedusha, he talks about.
Mm-hmm.
So using and the Rebbe Zishi used to say that he, by watching a thief perform his occupation, he learned how to serve God, and he went through a whole list of what a thief does to be a good ganef.
Yeah.
That helps him pray and do mitzvahs and be a good person.
And I guess that's also a choice, right? So the thief can have the choice to do what the thief does, but from the side of Kedusha. I mean, that's where we started, right? That it's anybody's choice.
Yeah.
Your circumstances either raise it or or bring
Right.
it down, right? So I can see, for instance, well, I don't want to get too sidetracked with it, but what pops into mind is Robin Hood, right? The holy האנוכיות הפסולה היא זו הנובעת מהחומר. The invalid selfishness is that which derives from or sourced from material. ומהקשר שיש לאדם לעניינים הגופניים, and from the attachment a person has to physical matters, or matters of physicality, rather. ואילו האנוכיות הנרצית, but the selfishness, the desired selfishness, or the desired ego, היא זו שעל אף שהאדם יודע ומכיר את אפסיותו, is the one that even when a person knows and recognizes his or her own nothingness, since a person is really of no value, ein va'efes hamuchlat is utter nothingness, right? By nature, who are we, right? We're a speck, right? Mekil hu yachad im zot. With that, a person still also recognizes et rom ma'alat nishmato, the immense value of his soul, shehi chelek Elohim mimal, which is a portion of the divine above. Uvanim atem laHashem Elokechem, and your children to God your God. Shehahakara hazo hi makor habracha, and this realization is the source of the blessing. So this is interesting. I think of it as spiritual high self-esteem. So what's a spiritual ego? It's an ego that knows that that my soul is the most precious thing in the world. Is the greatest thing in the world.
So, on the one hand, it's like this interesting dichotomy you have. On the one hand, like you said, a speck in terms of the time and space. I am literally nothing. We're here for a blink of an eye and then back to the ground.
Yeah.
So, so that if we leave it there, then that becomes like a really depressing sort of a counter thing. But at the same time, I'm a chelik kol mimal mamish.
Yeah.
I'm actually a divine being, part of a divine. I'm living within the divine.
Yeah.
And I'm one with it. I'm one with the whole universe. I'm one with all the universe. I'm one with it.
Right.
I'm one with eternity. So it's where we plug in the highness versus the lowliness.
וכמאמר מרן הסבא הקדוש מסלונים, and as the holy grandfather of Slonim, I think that was his grandfather and teacher, Musar Hashem beni al tim'as. I think that's from Mishlei, isn't it? That's if I got that right, it's from Proverbs. The ethics of God, the divine ethics, my son, do not tire of. So that's literally translated, but he's going to translate that completely differently. Now, the Saba Kadosh of Slonim says, don't read it that way. Read it this way, that the ethics or the laws or the morals that the Holy One is teaches and expects of a Jew who is my son. So Musar Hashem Bni, right? He kind of switches. He moves the comma in the sentence. Musar Hashem Bni, meaning God's high standards are called my son. And let's see how that's meaningful. Harei Bni hincha ben hamelech. So what does my son mean? It means that My son means the son of the king. In other words, I am the son of God. Forgive me, the Yoshke people, it's, no offense, but, you and I and all of us, we are each the child of the divine. That's what he's saying here, right? You are Ben HaMelech, you're the son of the king. Al tim'as tatzmecha. When the Proverbs says, my moral standards, my son, do not disdain, it means my moral standards means being the son of God. Therefore, do not disdain yourself as the son of God. This is about you. This is about not getting in that place where you don't value yourself anymore as a son of God, as a child of God.
Right. This is the holy ego he's talking about.
That's right. That's right. It's like you forget that you are that very special, precious neshama, right? That is the highest of the high. So that's the ego of my soul is everything. The world has been created for it. That's a good pride. Because I am a child of the divine.
Right.
So that is the ego of blessing, right? Okay, and that is really the true moral. Says true moral is not just following somebody's set of do this and don't do that. The true moral is knowing who you are in the deepest way and knowing that you are B'Tselem Elokim, Abraham, right? You're created in God's image. You are in the design's image. You're in the design's template. In God's template. Your soul is part of the divine, and in that way you're God's child, right? It's amazing. This is just so deep interpretation. Umaran Admor Bebeit Avraham Zichrono Yair Aleinu. There's another teacher of the Slonimer, I think it was his father actually, who wrote the book in Beveit Avraham, Piresh. He interpreted Hane'emar beYosef, what is said about Joseph in Bereshit Lametet, Genesis 39, where Joseph is being tempted by Eshet Potiphar. Vatitpeseo bevigdo, and she grabbed him by his garment. Einenu gadol babayit hazeh mimeni. There's nobody greater than me in this household. Ve'ech e'aseh hara'a gdola hazot. And how can I do this great evil? And just to clarify for people who are not familiar with the story, the great evil is she wants him to sleep with her. She's the wife of his employer. He's the chief butler, and his employer Potiphar gave him reign over the whole household. He has access to everything. He manages everything. But she wants him to sleep with her, and he says to her, "I am the greatest in this household. There's nobody greater than me. How can I do this great evil, v'chatati le'Adonai, and I will be sinful to God, meaning if I sleep with you." So says the Beit Avram, Bigdo milshon begida. His garment, the word bigdo, shares the root of the word begida, which means betrayal. So what he says, what does it mean that she grabs his betrayal? You could say, don't read it, she grabs his garment, but she grabs him, she grabs the place in him that is betrayal. She tafsauto bebegidotav, that she cornered him in his disloyalties, I guess, in the past. V'ta'ana lo, shari ben kach v'kach incha kol kach tzadik. And she said to him, come on, it's not like you've never sinned before. It's not like you're perfect and without a stain. do one more, what's the difference, right? Sleep with me, so what's the big deal? That's the symbolism of grabbing him by the garment. Ve'al heshiv, and to that he said to her, he responded to her, Einenu gadol b'bayit hazeh mimeni. There is nobody greater in this house than myself. How does the Beit Avram interpret that? Ein tzaddik yoter gadol mimeni. I am the greatest tzaddik. I'm the greatest righteous person. How can I do this great evil? So, what does that show in terms of our discussion? Here's the Slonimer. V'hainu she'af she'yada et afsiyuto mitzad atzmo hu ein va'efes. Even though Joseph knew that he's nothing in terms of who am I, right? He has no ego. Aval mitzad shoresh nishmato, from the side of the root of his soul, achelek Elohim amal, which is the portion of God above, within him. Harei enenu gadol b'bayit hazeh mimeni. From that perspective, there's nobody greater than him in the household, because he recognizes his greatness as a spiritual being. And from that place of recognizing my spiritual being, how can I do this great evil and sin to God? In other words, knowing that I am a pure soul, how can I stain it? So from the force of this selfishness, right, this ego, the spiritual ego, the ego of blessing, he was saved from this test. And Yosef is the paradigm, is the archetype, you could say, of passing a test, right? He is the paradigm of, he was tempted and he did not succumb to the temptation. And so he stands as that archetype and that symbol for that for all times, right? That's the kind of strength to, and this is basically the choice. Good and evil, the blessing and curse, and so Joseph is the you could say the model for making that choice, the choice of the blessing. Right.
Right.
So I'll just finish the last couple of sentences and then we can see where we want to take this. And this is hinted in the two words that open the verse and open the parsha. Re'eh Anokhi, see I, or I am, which is ego. See Anokhi, see your ego. She'af b'midat ha'enochiyut, even in the state of mind or the place of egotism, of selfishness, yesh inyan bracha, there is a possibility of blessing. V'ya ha'enochiyut ha'kedusha, and that is the holy ego, asher hi mekor ha'bracha, which is the source of blessing. U'chmo chen b'chol hamidot v'atchunot, and in the same way, that exists, the potential of blessing, in all traits and all attributes. And I think what he means here, in all supposedly negative traits and attributes, right? So anything that you see in yourself that seems like it's a negative attribute, there is the potential for finding the blessing in it.
So he was living in Israel. He had a
bracha and otherwise, right?
Yeah, what we can maybe sometimes think is not a bracha.
I see, yeah.
Because he was living in a geula. He was living a geula experience.
I see.
Paulus was living the Golus experience.
I see.
So we bring that to internally.
Right.
We, everything's bad. This is bad. Oh, I'm cursed. The world is cursed. Look what's happening in the world. One thing after another.
Right.
Everything is cursed. No, it's a chilufa.
Yeah,
You're not looking at it right.
yeah,
It's just turned upside down. You got to flip it.
that's right. That's right.
You
And
know.
if you are rooted, if you're rooted in the side of the blessing, it's easier to turn it around. But if you're rooted in the galus, in exile, if you're rooted in the state of mind of negativity, you know,
Right.
so it's much more difficult.
Ani ledaidi, bedaidi li, arai bashaishani. Ani ledaidi, bedaidi li, arai bashaishani. Ani ledaidi, bedaidi li, arai bashaishani. Ani ledaidi, bedaidi li, arai bashaishani.
Amen. Thank you, Rebelli. So, everybody, thank you for joining us for this, for studying, and we'll see you again tomorrow, next week, Wednesday, about 9 o'clock in the morning. Thank you so much. Shalom for now.